There's comfy seats here. 2 comfy seats here. Looking up. Yes, absolutely.
I came by today to see you. Oh, I had to let you know. If I knew the last time that I held you was the last time, I'd have held you and never let go. Always kept me awake nights wondering, lie in the dark, just asking why. I've always been told you won't be called home until it's your time. I guess heaven was needing a hero, somebody just like you, brave enough to stand up for what you believe and follow it through. When I try to make it make sense in my mind, the only conclusion I come to is that heaven was needing a hero like you. I remember the last time I saw you. Oh, you held your head up proud. I laughed inside when I saw how you were standing out in the crowd. You're such a part of who I am. Now that part will just be void. No matter how much I need you now, heaven needed you more. 'Cause heaven was needing a hero, somebody just like you, brave enough to stand up for what you believe and follow it through. When I try to make it make sense in my mind, the only conclusion I come to is that heaven was needing a hero like you. Yes, heaven was needing a hero, and that's you.
A beautiful way to begin today's farewell. Well, full chapel, that's no surprise, considering how loved and respected Betty was by so many. Thank you all so much for being here today. As we begin, could I remind you, if you haven't already done so, to switch off your phones or pop them onto silent for the service. That would be much appreciated. I'm not sure if those at the back can see, but there's is it a dahlia, Ted? A little flower on the coffin. There's a dahlia. I think it's a dahlia. I think it's a dahlia, if I know my flowers. Ted mentioned that it's the second time that it's flowered in 5 years in Betty's garden. It's a sure sign that she's with us today. Well, good morning everyone and welcome as we gather in loving memory of Betty. With the spirit of love and friendship that each of you bring, this service will be made even more meaningful and special. And I know that Ted and his very proud family appreciate you all being here to help them remember and celebrate Betty's life. And a special thank you to those who have travelled long distances to be here. It really does mean the world to have you here today. My name is Gina Breaking and it really is an honour to have been invited to officiate this farewell for Betty. It is my hope that this time we spend together will be a heartfelt tribute and a chance to reflect on the qualities that made Betty so loved and respected by you all. We are gathered together in this beautiful chapel to honour and remember the life of Betty Smith, a loved wife, mother and mother-in-law, a very proud nan and nana, a respected aunt and a cherished friend. Each of you here have experienced your own connection with Betty, and I'm sure the common theme throughout your memories and stories would include her determined, selfless and loving nature. Betty had a genuine love of life and a sense of fun, and she was always happy and smiling. A supportive and encouraging wife and mother, Betty's devotion and love of family was and will continue to be appreciated by them for many years to come. Well, there's no question that Betty's passing brings a sense of sadness. However, reaching a wonderful 90 years of age, and with Ted by her side for over 75 years, we must also reflect on the incredible life that she lived. There are countless moments that made Betty so loved by you all, and while we remember the years that she spent with us, we also give thanks for the impact her life has had, the lessons that she has taught, and the joy she brought into all of our lives. Betty's presence has touched each of you in unique and meaningful ways, and whether we let ourselves smile this morning, and no matter how many tears may fall, today we will show Betty the love and the respect that she so richly deserves, and we can only hope that she's looking over us today and she is smiling, knowing how much she was loved. Betty lived her life never wanting or needing a big fuss of her. Today will be a simple and heartfelt celebration of her life. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the people who are most special to Betty. She was the loving wife of 70 years to Ted. She was a loved and loving mother and mother-in-law of Stephen and Vanessa, of Jeff and Anne, of Cheryl and Ray, and of Gary and Jenny. A very proud nan and nana of Brett, Lissy, Sky, Brody, Troy, Sean and Mitchell, and great-grandmother of 11 great-grandchildren. To Betty's extended family, including her sisters June and Edna, who couldn't be here with us today, her brother Ken, who is no longer with us, her nieces and nephews, and to everyone else here this morning, you are all an important part of Betty's life, and I'm sure if she could, she would thank you all for the love and the friendships that you've shared. As you each take this time to remember Betty in your own special way, may it also be a warm reminder of how much she has meant to so many. Well, to prepare for this service today, I recently met with Betty's family and they shared with me a little about her life. The first thing that I learned, and as we've heard, Betty's family meant the world to her. She was born to be a wife, a mother and a grandmother, and to take care of her family. She was nurturing and she was loving, and she would do anything for those that she loved. A devoted wife to Ted, as we've heard, for over 70 years. In his words, Betty was a very lucky girl. In all seriousness, it was Ted. He knew that he was the lucky one. And after courting for 7 years before they were eventually married, the past 70 plus years have been spent supporting and encouraging each other and raising a beautiful family together. Ted told me they'd never had an argument, mostly because he was always right. We did have a lot of laughs when we were talking about Betty. And wherever life did take them, Betty was by his side, supporting him every step of the way. Living and raising a family on a farm, Betty was never afraid to get her hands dirty. She was also community-minded, and she was the first to offer a hand with anything that needed to be done. Betty made many friends throughout her involvement in our community, and certainly a testament by today's attendance, and she really did value her friendships with you all greatly. Well, keeping up with her children and grandchildren kept Betty busy, and in more recent years she loved any chance she got to spend with them all. Having Stephen, Jeff, Cheryl and Gary and their families all living close, Betty and Ted were lucky to have been involved in all of the special family events and occasions, and in more recent years their support and love has meant the world. Ted shared with me a few things early on in their marriage. He and Betty loved to go dancing, and they had an opportunity to travel all over Australia. But Betty would be the first to tell you that she was happiest being at home and spending time in her garden, which she loved. Betty's garden was her pride and joy, and she loved cutting the flowers and placing them throughout the house. And all of the ladies that I see in the front few rows have beautiful sprays today, which is certainly a very good tribute to her. Hardworking, compassionate, caring, fun and dedicated were just a few words that Betty's family used to describe her. Her mind was sharp and her sense of humour stayed with her to the very end. Remarks such as, "Have you dug a hole for me yet?" or "Just throw it in the coffin," when her copper bangle had to be cut from her wrist. Betty knew that her time had come. She was tired, and I know that Ted and her family are so comforted to know that she has got her wish and she is now at peace. There was a lot to share about this beautiful lady, and I have a beautiful and very proud son sitting in front of me, Jeff, who's going to come forward. He's a bit, he's a bit nervous and he's a bit emotional, but he's going to get through this, and I'm going to be his backup if he needs to, and obviously Gary's going to come forward as well and be his backup. So this is a little bit about Betty's life.
A little bit of exaggeration there when she said I was beautiful. Before I get started, Dad just wanted me to thank everybody for coming today. Really good to see you. I'll get through all this. This is what I'm about to read out to start with is Mum's story, or Betty Smith's story, as she had written down 5 years ago, which would have been probably when she recovered from her stroke. So Mum was born Betty Govan on the 1st of October 1934 at Footscray Hospital. She was the third daughter of Raymond George Govan and Jessie Govan, née Seward. Her older sisters were June and Edna, and later a younger brother Ken. Mum started school at Dandenong. She lived with her grandpa Seward in Fitzroy for a few years, then the family moved to Williamstown Beach. They were evacuated to Daylesford during the war, and then later they moved to South Lyndhurst. They had to walk 3 to 4 miles to school each day. You wouldn't find too many doing that these days. However, on Sunday the children went back to school for Sunday school, but this time they were driven there by her older sister June in the horse and jingo. They moved to Seaford where they lived in a trains guard carriage until the house was built in Rosalind Court, Seaford. Mum went to the Seaford school until she was nearly 14 years, then left and went to work at Stockman's News Agency for a few years. She left the news agency when a job came available at ES&A Bank in Mordialloc, and she trained there to be a clerk typist. Dad actually said that back then days she wasn't allowed to be a clerk, but she trained the male staff to be the clerk. The teller. She met Edward Wolfe Smith, more by name than nature, Mum would say. Whilst she was working at the news agency. And after 7 years of courting, they got married at the Methodist Church in Frankston on the 11th of April 1955. Dad said they had never kissed for the first 2 years of their courtship. Out of respect, he said. Maybe he was frightened, I'm not sure. Edward, or Ted, as he was always called, lived at a property in Pearsdale, where they took up residence in the old cottage after they married. However, before Betty's parents would allow them to marry, Ted had to put a timber floor in the back bedroom, which was only a dirt floor. He had to install a bath and do up the kitchen. Talk about luxury. Her firstborn son, Stephen Wyndham, came along on the 21st of November 1956. Was a happy child, who unfortunately contracted meningitis when he was just 19 months old. After extensive trips to hospital, respite and rehabilitation places, he came home with a slight limp and a disabled hand and an intellectual disability. Jeffrey Allen, that's me, was born a month after Stephen took sick on the 27th of July 1958. A happy baby. Mum's words. Next came Cheryl Ann, a daughter, a great joy. Cheryl was 15 months old when they moved to a property at Flaggy Creek where Gary Robert was born. A very content baby. Mum became involved in the Nair Young Centre as after trying ordinary school for a while, Stephen had to go to a special school. The other children went to Melwood State School until transferring to the Bairnstone High and Technical School. Betty worked at various jobs that could be done whilst we were around or when we were at school. She picked beans and peas, picked up sticks after bulldozing, worked on tomato picking machines and delivered bread around the area. She worked at a grocery shop and later at Ford's dress shop as security in the fitting rooms. Security? And then in charge of the knitwear department. Ford's had to cut back on staff, so she had to leave, but she got a job at Hayden Lawton Ford's, which ironically was owned by Gina's parents, or father, in the office, it was. She worked there for quite a few years. Then last but not least, she was chaperone and then a driver of one of Nair Young buses for 10.5 years before she retired. They sold the farm in Flaggy Creek in 1955 after living there for 30 years and built in, what did I say? 1995, sorry. A few years later. And after living there for 30 years, built a new home in Eastwood, Bairnstone, where they've lived ever since. She continues supporting Nair Young as well as riding for the disabled, as Stephen was one of the riders. When Stephen gave up riding, Ted continued to assist. Over the years, each of the children married and produced 7 grandchildren and 11 great-grandchildren. Mum was the most kind-hearted, loving, hard-working person you could meet. Dad was only saying the other day, he never heard her say a bad thing about anyone. She was devoted to her family, and especially Stephen, who required a lot of special attention and care in his early days, and continued to support him with his needs until she took sick. Mum was very organised with finances and budgets, and would keep written records of most things, including her life story, which I've just finished reading. I'm glad she wrote it all down because I didn't know many of the details in there. Mum was a very good shot with a .22 rifle. She could shoot the pegs off the clothesline at 40 paces, and there is a photo of Mum and Dad besides an old ute with rabbits hanging off it everywhere. Dad said Mum shot 40 rabbits that day. There is also a couple of photos you will see in the slideshow later where Mum is looking quite the picture on Dad's horse, Lady. But little would you know that the horse had bolted and Mum couldn't stop her. She stuck with it until it stopped at the fence a little while later. I don't think she ever rode again. Mum didn't mind a bit of a laugh either, and when we were going through all the old photos, there was a postcard in there that they must have picked up in their travels around Australia. It's not of Mum, but it gave us a much needed laugh at the time, so we thought, what the heck, let's leave it in anyway, so see if you can pick which one it is when it comes up. Mum was a pretty basic cook, but there was always food on the table, and she could always make it stretch a bit further if somebody happened to drop in. I loved her roast dinners we had most Sunday nights, and she made a really nice apricot chicken, which was usually rabbit, not chicken. But it tasted nice all the same, and the rabbits were more plentiful. I supplied the rabbits and she cooked them. She also made the best lemon slice and lamingtons, and like they say, no one makes them as good as Mum does. Mum had a stroke 5 years ago, which set her back a bit, but she recovered enough to get back into the garden. Several days after we celebrated her 90th birthday last year, she came down with pneumonia. She was released from hospital, but then suffered a second bout days later. Eventually we had to admit Mum into so she could have the constant care she needed. Mum remained there for 3 months until she had had enough and passed away. Cheryl bought Mum a colouring book to help her pass the time while she was in hospital in Bupa, and we were amazed at how good a job she did, especially considering her condition and ageing hands. She was quite proud of her pictures, as she would call them, and would show everybody when they came to visit. Mum's biggest passion, however, would have to be her gardens. She had a huge veggie garden at the back of our home in Flaggy Creek, enough to supply all Flaggy Creek, I would think, for quite a while, but what she loved most was her flower gardens. They were always full of colour, and she would spend hours in them pulling weeds, pruning and planting new flowers. Dad would say, "Come on in now, you're knocking yourself up." Mum would reply, "I've just got a bit more to do, I'm nearly finished." Have another puff on the asthma puffer and keep on going. We were very lucky to have her for so long. We will miss you dearly, Mum. And I'm sure the gardens up there will only look more beautiful now you've arrived.
So in my defence of calling you beautiful, it's not that you're not beautiful, but I was more thinking about the beautiful memories you're about to share, which is exactly what you just did. So as well as being proud, you are also beautiful. And I think, the few laughs that we're getting today is exactly what Betty's Family wanted today to be about, is to cherish those memories and have a few tears, but also have a few smiles when we think about all those things that we loved about Betty. So thank you, Jeff. That's a tough gig, but you did good. Well done. Is there anyone that would like to come forward and share a quick memory or a story? I know it's not an easy thing to do. There is a chance when we do conclude today, we are headed to the Bairnsdale Lawn Cemetery, and you are invited to join us there if you wish. And then I know Betty's family are headed to the Bairnsdale Bowls Club, and if you are able to, they would love it if you could join them to continue celebrating Betty's life in a less formal setting. So if you'd rather just head to the Bowls Club, Betty's family will be there fairly shortly after we finish the chapel service here. So there's a warm invitation if you're able to join them. Now, we've got a beautiful poem, very fitting poem, titled God's Garden, and Sky is going to share that with us today, and that's going to lead us into a photo presentation of Betty's life. So thank you, Sky. It's a very fitting poem to share today.
God's Garden. God looked around his garden and found an empty place. He then looked down upon the earth and saw your tired face. He put his arms around you and lifted you to rest. God's garden must be beautiful. He always takes the best. He knew that you were suffering. He knew that you were in pain. He knew that you would never get well on earth again. He saw the road was getting rough and the hills were hard to climb. So he closed your weary eyelids and whispered, "Peace be thine." It broke our hearts to lose you, but you did not go alone. For part of us went with you the day God called you home.
lovers, they were walking hand in hand. The maiden wore a shiny wedding band. She said, "My love, you own my heart and soul. So promise that you'll love me when I'm old. And darling, say you'll love me when I'm old. When dark clouds gather round and nights are cold. And say you'll never trade our love for gold. And darling, say you'll love me when I'm old." He kissed her lips and touched her golden hair, then looked upon her face so young and fair. He held her gently to his loving heart, saying only God alone could make us part. And darling, say you'll love me when I'm old. When dark clouds gather round and nights are cold. And say you'll never trade our love for gold. And darling, say you'll love me when I'm old. They lived for many years as man and wife, with several kids to grace their happy life. Sometimes the clouds were dark and nights were cold. Somehow their love was strong as they grew old. And darling, say you'll love me when I'm old. When dark clouds gather round and nights are cold. And say you'll never trade our love for gold. And darling, say you'll love me when I'm old. Yes, darling, say you'll love me when I'm old.
Looking forward, looking back, I've come a long way down the track. Got a long way left to go, making songs from what I know, making sense of what I've seen. All the love we've had between you and I along the track, looking forward, looking back. There are strange days full of change on the way, but we'll be fine, and like some I'll be leaning forward to see what's coming, looking forward, looking back. I've come a long way down the track, got a long way left to go, making songs from what I know. Hey. If I'm alone at night, I can see through all triviality of the day, and I'm okay. I just think of those who are dear to me, looking forward, looking back. I've come a long way down the track, got a long way left to go, making songs from what I know, making songs from what I know. Hey, looking forward, looking back.
Memories and a couple of great songs there to accompany those. Well, it's hard to capture a person's life in such a short amount of time. The memories and the photos that have been shared today make up just a small part of the sort of person that Betty was to you all. If we had to sum up who Betty was, I feel sure we would all keep coming back to the same thoughts. She was someone who faithfully lived her values. Betty was loyal, she was generous, she was selfless, and she led by example the value of honesty, integrity and kindness. In the spirit of honouring her memory here this morning, let us leave here carrying forward these lessons that she embodied. May we find inspiration in the way that Betty lived her life with value and purpose, and may her spirit live on in the stories that we share and the love that continues to connect us. There's no question that Betty was an important part of all of your lives, and her memory and legacy will live on in proud generations to come. I have one final short verse to share. They are words I feel certain Betty would wish to be remembered. I'd like the memory of me to be a happy one. I'd like to leave an afterglow of smiles when life is done. I'd like to leave an echo whispering softly down the ways of happy times and laughing times and bright and sunny days. I'd like the tears of those who grieve to dry before the sun, of happy memories that I leave when my life is done. Well, today has been a day full of fond and loving memories and will be remembered for many reasons, but mainly I hope it will be remembered by you all as a special day in which you were able to pay your last respects and say a fond farewell to a lady whom you were all privileged to have known. If Betty could have the last words, it would be to cherish life, be kind to others, keep smiling and be happy. We know that she would want that for her family and indeed for you all. Thank you all once again for being here to celebrate Betty's life, and I hope you have a lovely day cherishing those memories. Thank you.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain.